Corey and I'm from Vox Amps. I'm here at Guitar Center today talking about the MV50. Now you'll see the MV50 next to me is a 50-watt amplifier, but it only weighs 1 pound. It's not very expensive, and it's built off of some crazy new technology. That technology is called the new tube, and it was developed by Korg in the last couple years. It essentially repurposes a VFD tube for audio. Now, VFD would be familiar to most of you if you've ever used a microwave oven or driven in a car. The display on your appliances or the speedometer in a car are often built off of VFD, or vacuum fluorescent display tubes. They're essentially tiny vacuum tubes that have just been used for displays, but now they've been repurposed for audio, and that's where the MV50 comes in. What that allows us to do is to take all of the traditional character and personality of a vacuum tube and shrink it down into a smaller circuit and run it at 2% of the heat and 2% of the power consumption. Now again, that's where the MV50 comes in. We have a 1 pound amp, but it puts out 50 watts. I know you're probably looking at the amp and you're wondering if it really sounds legitimate, but that new tube front end has all the dynamic bounce and give and personality that we want from our larger conventional tube amps. Now the power section, or the power amp section, is a Class D power amp, but it's not one that Vox just grabbed off the shelf and jammed into the MV50. It was actually designed and built and developed all around the voice of that new tube front end. The front side of the MV50 has 3 knobs. The one on the left is the gain knob. In the middle, that's the tone knob, and on the right, that's your output volume. It also has a cool little VU meter that is telling you that the input is working. If we flip the MV50 around to the back, there's a couple of important things I want to point out. You have your standard speaker output. Use a speaker cable, plug it into either one of the matching 1.8 or 1.12 cabs from Vox, or use your favorite cab. It works with just about everything. You have an impedance selector for 16, 8, or 4 ohms. The MV50 sees 16 ohms and it puts out 12.5 watts. If it sees 8 ohms, it's going to put out 25 watts. And if you run your MV50 through a 4 ohm load, it's going to put out the full 50 watts. Now you can run the MV50 with any cab that you want, but you do want to set the impedance selector to match the cab that you're using because that's how the amp is voiced. It also has a speaker emulated direct out. So you don't actually have to use your MV50 with a speaker cab. You can go direct to an audio interface for home recording. You could go direct to the front of house in a live situation where you don't want to have noise on stage, or you could plug headphones into it and practice or play silently. For the first setting, I'm going to roll the gain back a little bit. We're going to get the classic AC clean chime. Next, what I want to do is gain it up a little bit. I'm going to back off the tone, but I'm going to roll up the output gain a little bit so the amp is a little bit more aggressive. This is going to give you a really great rock sound, either for recording or for playing live. One of the coolest things about the MV50 is that it works into any guitar rig that you currently have or are looking to build. Now, when I mean a rig, I mean your guitar signal chain, the stuff that you use to play guitar, right? The MV50 could be your only amp, and you could get one with the matching single 8-inch speaker cab and have a great grab-and-go rig or a practice rig for the house. You could buy a couple of those and run them in stereo. But what's great about the MV50 is that if you already have your favorite cab or a couple of cabs, you can use that with the MV50 as well. So what we have here is the MV50 sitting on top of the matching BC108 8-inch cab. That speaker has been voiced with a little bit of a low-end push to make the MV50 sound bigger, even though it's coming out of a smaller 8-inch speaker. But I also have that cab plugged into the cab beneath it. Essentially now what we're doing is daisy chaining both of these cabs together. So we have the MV50 going into the matching 8-inch cab, then we're running a speaker cable out of that into the cab beneath it, and it makes the amp more dynamic, it's going to have a little bit more headroom, and it'll breathe more. Let's hear what that sounds like. AC version of the MV50 amp from Vox Amplifiers. If you want to play one of the MV50s, go to your local Guitar Center store or go to guitarcenter.com.